All right, it is roster cuts time. It's so hard to know when to put out videos because you can put out a video in the morning, but then by 4:00, all the cuts are done. So you get a video where you get to see the cuts going live. I'm recording this in the morning. Got to work all day. This is my second thing. This is my second job. This is the fun job that helps pay for the extra things the family does. I got to go to my actual job. All right, that's pastor, and so I'm going to be doing that all day. All right, but hey, be praying for us. We're placing like 450 people into small groups, which is fantastic. So excited about how the church is growing. But anyways, with all that being said, let's talk Detroit Lions roster. All right. And look, you see in the picture, you see our boy Dan Skipper. And as of now, there hasn't been any news that he's agreed to come back or anything like that. And the Lions have done this. The Lions have done this where they cut a veteran and they say, don't worry, we're going to bring you back. We have to put a couple guys on IR. Or maybe there's one guy that we have to wait to put on IR, and we'll bring you back. Don't worry about it. But there has been some very unique decisions that have been made by the Detroit Lions. And I want to bring you back to what happened last year, but I'm going to explain why these are good news, because there have been 3 really kind of shocking cuts. Number one is Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper basically was acting as tackle number 3. He was tackle number 3 all year. That's what he's like. Last year, he was tackle number 3. This training camp, he was tackle number 3. But also, please note, he was continually getting beat as tackle number 3. They had to put in the Hutch rule, right? And no, I don't expect Dan Skipper or Giovanni Manu to be able to go and hold their water against Aiden Hutchinson. I don't. But at the same time, I do think that it would be really nice if they were like, hey, you know what? Like, at least we're going to put up a little bit of a fight here. And when tackles got injured, it made it really clear he wasn't the guy. Here's why I think that this cut is good news. All right, Dan Skipper was great reporting eligible. He was great as an extra tight end. What this tells me is that Giovanni Manu has at least elevated himself enough that the team feels comfortable putting either him or Jamarco Jones, we'll find out based on cuts later, that they've said, you know what, Manu, with your flaws, your athletic abilities are still enough that we can get you in more reps with the number 2 team, not just sitting here at practice squad. We can get you more reps in practice, and you will be as good or better than Dan Skipper by the year's end. That's what this is. That's what this move is telling me, is that maybe there was frustration. There was open talk about how Manu's been rough at times. Maybe it's not as bad as we think. That's the first one. The other side of this is I would not be surprised to see Dan Skipper come back. I would not. Okay, that's the first surprising cut, but I do think it can still be a good move. I love Dan Skipper. I have been so thankful. I mean, he's played guard for us. He's played tackle eligible. He's done everything you could ask a guy to do, and overall just seems like a great dude. But it is good news showing you how much talent this team has when a player like that no longer makes your roster. Also, Skip isn't getting younger. He's not young. We forget this. So if he is starting, maybe unfortunately he lost a step. Maybe that's just what it is. I don't know. Next one is opposite of Skip, and it is a surprise for me. It's Nate Lynn. Nate Lynn was released at the edge position, and I just thought, like, okay, so is Agude, by the way. And then you know that there's an injury right now to a couple of other defensive edges, Pascal, Hassanin. So you're like, what is going on? Who's going to play edge for us? Like, maybe they keep Cooper. It seems like it's going that way. But then you still only probably have 4 edges. And I'm like, wait a minute, is it Ukwu? Like, are they actually going to keep Ukwu on this team instead of Nate Lynn? But here's kind of what this reminds me of. Last year, the Detroit Lions did not have a third wide receiver. Do you remember it? They had St. Brown. They had Jameson Williams. And yes, I understand that they kept Khalif Raymond. I understand that. But Khalif Raymond was not going to play the big-bodied X role. Remember, they kept hoping that someone would pan out. There was a big injury in preseason to, oh man, I'm forgetting his name now. Second-year player, 7th-round draft pick out of North Carolina, Green, Antoine Green. And hello, right? And he got hurt. We cut everybody else, and all of a sudden it's like, who are our wide receivers? Does the GM know that we need to have 5 at least ready for game day? Like, wide receivers get hurt, and then all of a sudden we go out, we get a couple pickups. Tim Patrick is still here. All right, at least for now. I don't know what that looks like with cuts. Now, Meeks got cut, so I would imagine that Tim Patrick's very much safe. But all of a sudden, it's like, what was happening? And then we go out, we make a couple moves, everything's fine. I think this is good news, and I agree. I don't often read negative comments. They happen sometimes, right? That's part of the job. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I heard people be like, hey, I heard you come on this show and talk about our depth at defensive end and how good it was and how we were good to go. We don't need to go out and get Zadarius Smith. That was like 2-3 weeks ago. You're right. And in the NFL, things change fast. Since that time, I thought to myself, okay, great. Hassanin is looking like a guy who can be our number 4 edge, right? You bring Josh Paschal back. He's a edge/defensive tackle. He can be that 5th guy on both positions. And then if you want to keep Nate Lynn, all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're 6 edges deep. Like, we're good to go here. But then Hassanin gets hurt. Paschal's injury is going to be there longer than we thought it was going to be. It's going to creep into the regular season big time, which is what it's been for him. Would not be surprised to see him as a cut candidate. All right. Now, with all of that being said, I mean, if he's going to go on IR, he won't be a cut candidate, by the way. Remember the wide receivers from last year. The Lions have $50 million to go out. They can get somebody. It's not going to be a superstar. It's going to be a depth piece. Somebody around the league is going to make a decision during cut time. They are going to cut either a veteran defensive end or a young player or something like that with tremendous upside. Somebody is going to cut somebody, and there are already free agents available if we want to make the move. It is there. Remember, all teams are cutting down from 90 to 53 today. That's a lot of players available. And there will be somebody at defensive end that gets cut from another team because their defensive end group was more talented than ours. Just because we have what I believe to be the most complete roster in the NFL doesn't mean that every position is better than every other team's. And there will be players that will be let go that we will have room for. Just know that that is coming at some point, or they are just as happy saying, you know what, Keith Cooper, if you make the team, you're going to play some defensive end. And Mekhi Wingo, you're going to play some defensive end. And Paschal, when you're healthy, you're going to play some more defensive end. And that's what we're going to put out there. And we're going to save our pass rushers for clear passing downs. And on clear running downs, we're going to go big. We're going to go big on that defensive line. It can work for a season. It absolutely can. It's already in better position than the last one. All right. That was the first 2 bits of back-to-back good news. The third one, I just want to say, when you come out and you have guys like Dan Skipper getting cut, and you have Nate Lynn getting cut, and you have Mitchell Agude, and you have a very talented safety in Ian Kennelly, who, by the way, great practice squad player. When you have Hendon Hooker getting cut, all right, it speaks to the depth. But here's what I'm going to spin into good news, but it's also kind of bad news. All right, in the cuts, Hendon Hooker, right? Broderick Martin. Those are 3rd-round picks. Those are dudes getting cut. All right, we need to recognize that that's happening, and I can show you the list of cuts so far. All right, the list of cuts so far. Those are 3rd-round picks, and so that is something. What I think is good is at least Brad Holmes is willing to admit, I made a mistake. It's time to let him go. All right, that 3rd round, there always seems to be something that plays. Josh Paschal in the 2nd round. Like, that has been the bugaboo of this team. It's very interesting to see. All right, so good news coming out. Let's see how this roster continues to shake up. Be looking for a good video tomorrow from Chris with the video or with the roster completely finalized. We'll see you on the next one.